it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends video. This time we're doing a why buy on Fizz, the title trickster. Now, I'm about like 80 or 90% sure that I did a video on Fizz before, but for some reason I can't seem to find it on my channel, and I don't know what happened. It's very confusing because I know I had a game with Fizz where I went like super crazy and got like 25 some kills and wanted to do a video on it, but for whatever reason I can't seem to find it on my channel. So apparently I didn't upload it. I'm guessing that maybe it got like messed up somehow in rendering, and maybe I didn't capture it correctly, or maybe my memory is just slipping me. But all that said, that's alright because I can go ahead and do one now. Fizz is still a fun champion to talk about and play, and so yeah, not a problem at all to go ahead and do it right now. So yeah, what is Fizz? Fizz is an assassin. He is one of the most mobile champions in all League of Legends. He technically has 2 gap closers, and so it makes him really, really hard to deal with. He also has an untargetable ability with his E. And with his high mobility and his untargetable nature, he is extremely difficult to lock down. He's very, very slippery. The title trickster is probably one of the best names of nicknames of a champion that I could think of, just because it fits Fizz so very well. I'm going to be landing against an Orianna this game. This was a ranked match. I was playing with my friend Snowbaka, who is playing on Raid Boss Tarek support. He truly does go full Raid Boss this game. Yeah, so let's start talking about Fizz's abilities. He did get a nerf in the 3.1, was it 3.13 or 3.14 patch? When they nerfed all the assassins, I think it was 3.14. But in my opinion, he is still very, very strong and very, very viable. I definitely do not think that he in any way has been like kind of discredited in terms of like he's no longer a viable assassin. I think he's still really, really good. So anyways, let's get into his skills and abilities, and we'll talk about the early laning is a little bit boring in this game, but and this wasn't like the most ham of Fizz games. Like there are some games on Fizz where you see people just go like 30-2, and I've certainly had games like that as well. But like I said, for whatever reason, that game that I had that I thought I did a video on, for whatever reason, didn't happen. So still really confused about that. But anyways, taking a lot of harassment here from Orianna. But anyways, let's talk about his abilities, and then we can talk about gameplay. So first of all, his passive, Nimble Fighter. This allows him to ignore unit collision and take reduced physical damage from auto attacks. So this is a really, really nice passive, and I would say it's a really important part of his kit, just because being a melee, it definitely puts him at a disadvantage in terms of laning. Melee champions just inherently have a harder time against ranged champions. It's just kind of the way things are. And so, and I'm getting quite low. It looks like Orianna wants to come in and flash, but I think I've got enough to live through this. Yes, I do. Okay. So, didn't die, but got quite low. So, Nimble Fighter is definitely an important part of his kit, and it's really nice in laning because, like I said, you could take less damage from less damage from auto attacks, and you ignore unit collision. So this really just helps you navigate through the creep wave really well. You're not going to get creep locked ever, which is actually really nice. It's one of those things where you don't really ever think about it, but it is really, really annoying. And so it's definitely nice for that. But then the reduced damage from auto attacks is really, really key. It's just going to help you with your laning. So I took Dorn's Shield this game because Orianna is definitely very auto attack dependent. Combine that with 6 less, so I'm taking 14 reduced damage from auto attacks as I go ahead and roam and pick up this kill on Caitlyn. But 14 reduced damage on auto attacks is actually really, really nice. If Orianna is going to be auto attacking me for like 60 or 70 damage, something like that, reducing that damage by 14 is really nice. That's a nice percentage decrease, and that is even calculated armor and MR yet. So overall, really nice, and it helps him stay safe in lane. It helps him keep room for farming and kind of negate some of the harassment that comes from ranged champions, which most of the opponents you're going to be going up against are going to be mages who are ranged, and so that's definitely something to keep in mind. It helps me kind of shrug off some of this Orianna harass as the game progresses. So next up will be his Q. This is his Urchin Strike. This is one of his gap closes. Now this is kind of a unique ability. It is a targeted ability, so you click on your target and then you gap close to it. And then it will deal all of your attack damage, so 100% of your attack damage is physical damage. And then it will also deal a base level of magic damage plus 60% of your ability power, which is really, really nice. And it will also trigger on hit effects. And another thing about this is that Fizz will actually dash a fixed distance every time. So even if you're, so like let's say if you gap close at max range, then it will go the full range, which I believe is 550 units. Throwing out the fish there to try to all in Oriana, but missed and a little bit unfortunate. But sometimes you got to take risks and go for things, and it just didn't work. But anyways, so with his Urchin Strike, so a 550 range is the range. So if you go at max range, you're just going to travel 550 range, and you'll be right at your target. But if you actually use your Q on someone who is very close to you, you will still travel 550 range. You'll just go past them the set distance. So you can actually use this to your advantage in certain situations where somebody's very close to you, and you use your Q to kind of go past them and through them, which is really cool. But then really the hallmark and the big concept of this ability is the fact that it applies on hit effects. And Fizz's core item, without a doubt, is Lich Bane. Ooh, nice little playful tricks there to get away from that Oriana ultimate. As I come in to get ganked, not too much of a problem. So like I said, Urchin Strike will apply on hit effects. And that is really the core part, because Lich Bane is the item to get on Fizz for this very reason, because it turns your Q. So like if it does 100% of your bonus AD, or I'm sorry, of your total attack damage. So 74 AD, I think at level 18, I think it's safe to say that most champions get about 100 attack damage. So we'll think about this in terms of max rank level 18. So 100 attack damage plus 130 base AD, 230. That's like a fair, I mean, that's like pretty average in terms of like spell damage, in terms of like base spell damage. 230 is pretty average. But then you're getting 60% AP ratio, which is okay. But then when you apply the on-hit effect, you're adding a 75% AP ratio. So altogether, you're getting like 145% of your ability power applied to your Q, which is just absurd. So basically, the damage can get out of hand really, really quickly on your Q. I tend to max my Q second, but you really, like, the damage doesn't come from levels. Like, it only increases by 30 damage per level, which is really low. The max damage is 130 at max rank, just from like the base damage, which is kind of low. But the main thing about this is the fact that it gives you this massive on-hit effect application in the form of your Lich Bane. So overall, it's a really, really powerful ability. Use it for the gap close. Let's see, I'm probably going to use it. There's the ultimate, there's my WQ, and then E is going to finish him off, and I use my Ignite just to make sure that he goes down, and there he goes. So again, using my Q right there to close the gap initially, after I throw out my ultimate, and just picking up that kill. So overall, it's a really nice ability. You can definitely use it to farm, but I would say the way to use this is to like lead off your combos. I actually use it right there to farm that creep. So I like to activate my W because it is an on-hit effect, and then you Q in, and then if you want to stay and fight, you can, but if you don't want to, you have the option of Eing out. So I like to use Q initially to get into the fight. So next up will be his W, Seastone Trident. This is a passive and active component. As we catch out this Vi, a really, really nice flash right there from Vi to get away from my E, and there's really nothing I can do at that point. So the passive component gives Fizz's auto attacks bonus magic damage over time that it is increased based on the percentage of the target's missing health. It doesn't stack, but it will just refresh the duration if you apply it multiple times. And so basically, this gives you your auto attacks a really, really nice execution component where you'll deal bonus damage. And like the flat damage isn't really that high, but the real kicker here is that it's going super ham on this Oriana. And she flashed away. But then actually, I think she makes a really nice play right there. Yeah, just turned that around really nicely. I thought I had enough to take her out, but I needed to land my E, and I just did not. So, unfortunately, was going to go down right there. But anyways, so like I said with the Seastone Trident, so the passive component is best used for the execution. It also helps you last hit, which is quite nice. But the real component here is the execution. The base damage, like I said, is really low. The AP scaling actually is fairly low as well at 35%. But the real kicker here is the execution. So this is something that, it's very like characteristic of many assassins is to have some sort of execution component. And I am going to pick up this kill right there, so the payback on Oriana is sweet. Let's actually watch this, and I'll explain the combo. So, okay, so she is low, and she's a little low on mana, which is kind of the big kicker. So I throw out my ultimate, and I actually miss. That was actually a kind of a silly ultimate that I threw it short, which is possible, which I'll explain. But there's a W, there's a Q, and there's an E. So I hit W to get the on-hit effect, and then I used my Q to close the distance, used my E for a big chunk of damage, and then I finished her off with a couple more auto attacks. So then your W also has an active component where for 5 seconds your auto attacks become empowered, dealing additional magic damage on hit and applying grievous wounds for 3 seconds. So again, the magic damage, the base level of magic damage really isn't that high. It's only max. And max rank, it's only 30, and the AP ratio is fairly low at 15%, which they did recently nerf. However, every little bit counts. This is definitely something that you want to turn on whenever you're going to go ham on somebody. There's a WQ right there, and then using my E to jump on them. Going to throw out the shark right there onto Leona at point blank, and going to just waiting for cooldowns. My Q isn't up yet. Can I go ahead and get this? Oh, I remember this actually. WQ, and all of a sudden I'm out of mana. Oh, shit, 8 health. That was frustrating. I ran out of mana at just the wrong moment. Darn. That was unfortunate. So anyways, not able to pick up that kill on Leona. Okay, so let's finish up Seastone Trident. So there are a couple things here to note about this ability. First of all is that it's really, really useful for farming in lane. I tend to take a point in this early on and use it for farming, especially if you get pushed under tower. Your W really helps you to last hit very, very effectively under tower. And so yeah, the early farming is really, really nice. And then, like I said, anytime you want to go ham, you just want to activate this. And actually, one of the best ways to do is to combine it with your Q in terms of the on-hit effects. So the active component is an on-hit effect that will apply with your Q. And so if you hit, like let's say you have Lichbane, and you hit W, and then you Q onto them, you're getting, from your Q, you're getting 60% AP. From your W, you're getting 15% of your AP. Now, I'm not actually sure if the passive component gets applied along with the active component. I am tending to think that that would be true, but I don't actually know for sure, because that seems really strong. So anyways, like the AP ratios is 60 plus 35 plus 15. So we're looking at, let's see here, 40, 50, so 110 plus Lichbane. So we're almost at 200% of our AP with just a single WQ plus Lichbane. So it's pretty absurd in terms of AP scaling right there. And it really, really makes Fizz very strong. Going to get some nice chunking down there onto Oriana. There goes the ultimate, waiting for some cooldowns. She's going to ignite me and ult me, but I am going to make it out alive just fine. My burst is simply too high for her to handle. So good all-in right there, waiting for some cooldowns, and then going super ham. So anyways, next up would be Fizz's E. This is his playful / trickster. This is really Fizz's core ability. This is the one that makes him tick, that he is most known for. I mean, this is like the reason to play Fizz, is for his E. So what you do is, it's a 2-part ability. If you activate it once, you will hop in a kind of a short direction, 400 units towards your cursor. And then you will kind of sit on top of your pole. You will be untargetable. And then you have the opportunity to either hit E again, and then you will dash once more in the direction of your cursor. Or you can simply, like right-click, and you'll just kind of fall off of your pole in a not dash as big of a distance. And then slam the ground and deal damage. And there is a little bit of a distinction. So if you just kind of fall off of your pole, I believe it's the playful part, where you basically, so you hit E and you get on top of it, and then what I like to do is right click, and then you kind of like lean over or tip over in a specific direction rather than kind of dashing again. If you do that, you have a larger, so right there I actually used my E to dive in, and then I right clicked a little bit towards my base to try to dive out. And it looks like a 4-man dive is coming. Use my E to dodge the shockwave, but man, there are so many ultimates being used right now. Goodness gracious. I'm gonna go down right there. But so then, if you use the playful part, you have a bigger AOE, and you also slow your opponent if you land on them. However, on the other hand, if you use the trickster part, you get a little extra range, but you have a smaller splash radius. The diameter of that actually deals damage is smaller. But then you actually get better distance, and you also don't get the slow. So there are times in which you want to use one, and there's times in which you want to use the other. For the most part, I would say I tend to prefer to use the playful part and just kind of hop up on my trident and then use my right click to fall down, because one of the things I've noticed is that because it has a bigger AoE, oftentimes you're getting, almost the same amount of range out of your playful in terms of kind of reaching out. You're getting similar range. However, you are getting, just because you have a bigger radius on your landing zone. But then, and also the big thing really is getting the slow. The slow is really, really nice. Going super ham on the Vi and now on the Darius, and gonna help Nasus pick up a double kill. There I actually used my E at the double part to use both the playful and the trickster. But then, specifically when I'm farming, or if I'm close enough to an enemy where I don't really need to close a ton of gap, then I'll just use the single part, and I'll just right-click and fall off. So you get the slow, and you get the bigger splash. But then, there are times when you really need to use your E as a gap closer, and then you want to use the second part to get the extra range. So there is kind of a trade-off, and when you're playing Fizz, you need to learn when to use each one. They both kind of have unique application and are better in certain situations than others. So, and then the big thing about this ability is that when you are up on your pole, you are actually untargetable. So any sort of targeted ability, any sort of... I remember this part. I actually made a huge mistake right here. I want to see what kind of vision they had. Looks like they had none. I got really greedy going for this blue buff. So yeah, you become untargetable, and stayed for the blue buff, and I'm gonna die. So that was just dumb. That was just flat out stupid of me. Yeah, just flat out stupid. Hopefully my team can get out of here alive. Looks like they're gonna stay and fight a little bit. Okay, they're gonna make it out. So yeah, the untargetable nature is really what defines Fizz's kit. That makes him untargetable. It makes him really hard to deal with. You can dodge skill shots with this. You can dodge even active abilities that have a travel time. You can, dodge crazy things like the Zed ultimate or the Karthus ultimate. There are just a lot of things that you can do with the Playful Trickster, and it makes it really, really fun to play. It has really, really high damage and high scaling. 270 max at max rank, which I like to max this ability first, and then a 75% AP ratio. This is your only AoE ability, so it's your best farming tool. And so, yeah, this ability really defines your kit in terms of it just does everything for Fizz. Now, you do need to be cautious about using it to farm. They're using it to just kind of get in range because I have blue buff and I have the mana. Oh, landing the ult. There's a WQ. And now we're going to go on to this Caitlyn. She's going to flash away. And, going to use my Q actually to escape. If you'll remember, I said that you can use your Q for the range because it will travel through. And I use it right there to try to get myself back into safety. We are going to pick up this kill and on Darius. So that was a 2-for-1, I believe. Overall, quite a good... actually, Riven got a kill on top lane, so overall very good for our team. I think we're going to go do Dragon now. And so yeah, like I was saying, you do need to be a little cautious about using your E. Oh, I really thought I could get over that wall. I think I just did it at the wrong spot. But you need to be cautious about using your E to farm in lane because when your E is on cooldown, that is really the window for your opponents to come in and go ham on you. So you need to be cautious about that. You need to make sure that you use it at the right time. Is really one of the biggest things about playing Fizz is knowing when to use your E and when to kind of be cautious. Failed on my E again. Just total derping on my E to go over walls. You can do a lot of really cool little wall hops with your E. You actually can do like dual part wall hops where you use the playful part to go over a wall and then use the trickster part to go back over a wall or go over a different wall. There's just a lot of things you can do. Using my E right there to farm. It's totally fine if you have the confidence. Now, the mana cost is pretty absurdly high. 130 mana max rank is pretty ridiculous. But that said, it just does so much damage and is so powerful that you don't necessarily need to really worry about it. They're going to go ahead and all in the Vi. And, got her a little bit low, but the Shockwave lands, and so that's probably going to be it. Didn't really want to face check that brush. Didn't really know who was coming to their aid. So we're going to let him go. using my Playful right there to farm. And so yeah, this is really core to Fizz, and learning how to master this skill is really important. Last up will be his ultimate, Chum the Waters, or his Shark. It's a lined skill shot where Fizz will throw out a fish. When the fish hits, they're slowed, and then they will actually be knocked up once the fish explodes and deal a metric truckload of magic damage. And then anybody else who is hit by it will be knocked aside. And I believe that they are dealt the damage as well. And they are slowed. So this is really Fizz's core ability. They're using the fish right there onto the Leona. And this was actually the moment in the game where it really went ham. So they're going to pick up the kill onto Leona. Going to use my Zonias right here to get rid of the Caitlyn. Waiting for cooldowns. There's my E. There's a Q with my kill with my Q. And then using my W to finish off this Vi. And really outplaying those guys for a nice triple kill. We actually need to watch this one more time. And then I'll finish talking about Chum the Waters. This was like the moment in the game where I was like, Fizz is really fun to play. Okay, let's go ahead and slow this down. So first of all, backing up, it looks as if my team is getting just flat out caught out. This is a 3. This is like a 5-on-3 right now. And Misfortune dies. I think they did get Darius, but then now everybody pretty much is just dying on my team. But I land the fish. And I don't really have vision, so I go ahead and E in their WQ, and now waiting for cooldowns. Gonna use my Zonias to keep myself safe. Use my E to immediately untarget the Vi Q, and using my Q again to finish off Caitlyn. And there's the kill. So a nice triple kill. Let's watch this one more time in really slow motion, so I can really identify what abilities I'm using. Okay, so I throw out the ultimate to start with. It connects. I decide not to go ham because I just didn't really think it was the right time to go in, although I could have just one-shot Leona right there. Going to use my E to dash the Vi Q. Going to use my Q right there to finish off Leona. Now just running away, waiting for cooldowns. Going to use my Zonias right there, so Caitlyn's ultimate cannot connect. Waiting for cooldowns again. There's the E right there to dodge Vi's Q for the second time. And then a Q to finish off Caitlyn, and then my W is going to finish off Vi. So that was like the real outplay moment right there of this game. And pretty much the main reason why I decided to use this gameplay. So yeah, that clip really shows, I think, the core identity of Fizz is being really slippery, being very, very capable of outplaying your opponents. You know, he is so good in terms of his outplay potential. You know, right there I used my untargetable on my E, you know, twice to dodge Vi Qs, and my Zonias as well to dodge the Caitlyn ultimate. So it's just very, very difficult for my opponents to deal with my mobility and my untargetable spells, just because there's so much that you can do in terms of outplaying your opponents. So a nice little stretch right there. Really pleased with how that turned out. And so yeah, I don't know what else I really need to say about the Chum the Waters before I get into like gameplay and build and stuff like that and strengths, weaknesses. The big thing that I would say about Chum the Waters is that it is you can actually target in a spot on the ground and it will go short. So for the most part, what I tend to do is really try and overshoot it, because it can be so like right there. Like I totally messed up. Like let's watch this. So I throw my ultimate and it doesn't actually connect with Darius because I ended up throwing it too short. So yeah, like. It was on line to connect with him, but I just didn't do a very good job of landing it. Gonna pick up that kill right there and go invulnerable on my Zonias, and using my Q to go out. There's another E. Now just gonna go ham onto this Caitlyn. Gonna pick her up there. There's another kill with my Q, and I do end up falling to Orianna. But still a very good sequence right there. Again, just let's watch this team fight one more time, and I'll slow it down and really highlight what abilities I'm using. So first of all, I messed it up here by throwing my ultimate short. You need to make sure that you throw it the full distance. That's a really important part. My W is active. There I use my WQ and my E. That's my full basic combo right there. Just chunking Darius using my Ignite, using my auto attacks. Now I'm getting totally chain CC'd using my Zonias to try and stay alive. Now I believe I'm going to use my Q, yep, right there, to go back out onto Orianna, using my E to kind of come back in. And now I see that Caitlyn is low, and I don't have focus, so I decide to go on Caitlyn, pick her up with my W-empowered auto attacks. Dangerous game actually gives me extra health right there for my mastery, and then using my Q to pick up one more kill onto Leona. And going to go ahead and get out. So that was a good trade for us. Actually, that probably wasn't a very good fight for us. They still have 2 alive. Oh, Nasus does get it. So that was a 5 for 4 right there. Yeah, overall, probably not worth it, but still a pretty fun little trade. So yeah, the big thing with the ultimate is making sure you don't throw it short. You really want to make sure that you try and throw it the max distance. It has a really long range, but for whatever reason, I just tend to think of it as like a normal skill shot where it will go the max range no matter what, but it won't. It will go short if you throw it short. So you need to make sure you throw it past your cursor or past where your target is, to make sure that it goes the full distance. So anyways, those are Fizz's skills and abilities. In terms of maxing, I tend to max E, and then I've been doing Q and then W last. I found since they nerfed the AP ratio on W, it's not quite. I mean, it's still really good, but in terms of maxing, I think you get a little bit more out of maxing Q than maxing W. But both are still viable. Now we're going super hard in the paint. Can use my Zahonias, using my EQ to get out, and now following on with my E. There's a Q. And a W auto attacks are going to finish off Leona. Going to pick up that kill. So very nice little team fight right there to do some nice work. So yeah, anyways, those are Fizz's skills and abilities. You've got your Q and your E for you just have tons of mobility. And you've got your ultimate, which is kind of like the thing that really like sets up your full combo. And so yeah, overall Fizz is definitely an assassin. You're really capable of chunking people really hard with Lichbane. On your WQ combo, your E just gives you so much room for if you want to go aggressive, if you want to use it defensively. It's really what allows you to survive, in these chaotic teamfight situations. One of the things about weaker assassins like a Pantheon is that they don't have any way to kind of survive once they get in and blow up their target. But with Fizz, you rely on your mobility and you rely on the untargetable from your E to really make that happen. So it just offers you a really, really dynamic gameplay style where you pretty much always have something you can do to deal with a situation. With your 2 dashes on relatively short cooldowns, 8 seconds on your E, 6 seconds on your Q, you've always got something you can do in terms of being effective and in finding the right tool for the right situation. Looks like Vi is going to go for the Baron. Going to tag her with my E, with my ultimate, WQ. E and auto attack is going to finish her off. And that was a big time mistake there from Vi getting caught out at Baron. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about itemization. The big item for Fizz is definitely Lichbane. Lichbane is so core. I would say more so than any other, like to an absurd amount compared to other champions and other items. This item is core on Fizz. Like I said, you really need to get that extra damage from the on-hit effect from both your W and your Q. It just it makes you so much more dangerous because it gives you another AP ratio. His AP scaling is already fairly high. 60% on his Q, 35 and 15 on his W, 75 on his E, and 100% on his ultimate. So he's got very high AP scaling, and this just puts it way over the top. And so once you get Lichbane, if you hit an ultimate WQ, that alone will almost one-shot people if you're ahead. So that combo in and of itself is usually enough to get the job done on an AD carry or on your opponent in lane. And then your E just kind of is the gravy on top if you need to chase somebody down or if you need to get out and escape some sort of nasty targeted spell. You can definitely do that. And it just it makes you very dangerous. Past that, I really like Zhonya's. You watched in the clip before, Zhonya's was a very core component. And again, it just makes Fizz so hard to deal with. Because it basically gives him, you get the 2.5 seconds from Zhonya's, you get the 1 second from your E. So you have, 2 forms of untargetable, and you have like a full, 2.5 seconds where there's nothing that anyone can do to you. Yeah, right there, I just totally one-shot that Vi. Gonna use my WQ. Is my E off of cooldown? There's my E. Gonna finish off Darius and die, but still, I think probably worth it. I think my team is going to go ham. Oh, it looks like Riven wants to go ham. Oh, she does get the 1 kill, but then it is going to end up... Oh, is she going to live? Oh my gosh, that would be absurd. Oh, she went back in. She did live. Nice job, Riven. Very, very well played by her part. So anyways, like I said, an ultimate WQ combo with Lichbane is going to do a ton of damage. Past that, I like Zhonya's. Then Deathcap and Void Staff are really, really core. I think Void Staff may be a better choice earlier in the game just because it's so good. I mean, magic penetration is so strong in general that Void Staff is really, really good. And then after that, it just kind of depends. Guardian Angel is not a bad last item. Again, giving you a third means to deal with team fights and going untargetable. DFG is also very viable. Again, it makes your one-shot potential through the roof. You know, DFG plus your Fish, WQ with Lichbane, and your E is for sure going to one-shot even almost the tankiest of targets. It's going to do so much damage. And so, yeah, that's it. That is Fizz in terms of itemization. Now, in terms of overall gameplay, I would say Fizz is... I mean, you definitely need to be trying to get kills. I think I've seen statistics before where Fizz is a champion who averages more kills per game than any other champion. Like, he is an absolute, like, murdering assassin machine. Gonna go ahead and try to pick these ladies off. There's the ultimate onto Caitlyn. And gonna go ahead and finish her off. She popped her GA right there. I didn't even have to use my E, but there's... Oh, I maybe should have gone on to Orianna in hindsight. Ooh, they're baiting people with my Zonias. Does my E off a cooldown? No, I ended up going down. That was kind of... I think at this point we were just kind of messing around because I think the game was in hand. Yeah, the game is definitely in hand with Nasus as big as he is, and I'm pretty big. And even MF is pretty big as well. So a nice win for my team, and that's Fizz. He's a really fun champion to play, extremely high mobility, absurdly high burst. You know, in terms of weaknesses, I would say the fact that he's melee, and like everything he does puts him in melee range, you know, because his Q and his E actually move him, so he has no ranged abilities. That kind of makes him a little bit dangerous, a little bit, you know, kind of feast or famine, risk reward. But he's so fun to play. He's so mobile. He's got such, you know, he's so tricky with his untargetable. You know, he's very difficult to really lock down and pin down and deal with. Even if you have crowd control, there are ways that he can deal with it. And so yeah, overall I think Fizz is a really strong and really fun champion to play, and even after the nerfs I think he's still quite viable. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There are a lot of like little tips and tricks about Fizz that I probably didn't even go into. He's a very in-depth, like he's got a lot to him, which makes him I think a kind of an interesting champion overall as well. But in terms of a baseline, to give you a baseline understanding, this is definitely where Fizz is at, and definitely strong. If you're looking for an assassin who's really a strong pick, Fizz is definitely a good one to go to right now. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on Fizz and how much you enjoy playing him, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.